Black and British. I mean, it's a really interesting topic. The way you can break it down, is it really necessary to put black before being British? How do you guys feel about that? Lisa, what do you think?
Well, I think it is important because I'm British, but I'm also black. Aside from being British, who I am, I class myself as a woman who is black. Before I used to class myself as a black person who is a woman. Either way, I don't think it really matters, but being black is important to me, first and foremost, and then British. Whichever way you want to look at it is really difficult. When I was younger, I used to have a problem with the word black just because of, if you Google black, it has so many negative connotations. So for me, growing up, I had to really look into what being black meant and turn it into a positive. I'm still a bit funny with the term now because what is black? When I look at my skin and compare it to the colour chart, I'm not black, I'm brown. But the deeper tones of what it means to be black is who I am. But I just find it a very strange word to use to describe a group of people, and that's a struggle that I've had. You guys?
Well, like for me, I had to struggle with the term black because everyone said to me, you're black. Well, lots of white people said to me I was black. Lots of black people said to me, no, you're not. So it took me a while to come to terms with myself as a mixed race woman, which is how I describe myself now. And I'm always in conflict with a lot of people who say to me, oh, you're watering down the race, you must describe yourself as black. But for me, I see that if I describe myself as black when I'm not, because I'm mixed race, every time I fill a position that is meant for a black person, to me, I'm taking a job away from a black person. And I also think that there are lots of organisations that would prefer to use lighter skinned people, shadeism. And so to get away from that, I'm describing myself as mixed race. You can't use me in that way. So I had to think long and hard about whether I would describe myself as black. I identify politically as black. I once told someone off for saying that, and then years later I've come around to the fact that that is how I identify. To me, because one half of my background oppressed the other, I've always, there's always that battle. So it is important to me. My black heritage is important to me, knowing as much as I can, and also helping as much as I can, and where I can. As for being British, I actually don't think of myself as being British. In fact, when people even say to me English, I don't even think of myself like that. I think of myself as a human being, an earthling. I see myself as mixed race, but I don't confine myself to any one place, because I'm interested in lots of cultures. I don't care where you come from. You're going to have something interesting that I want to know about. So, and with all this globalization thing now, where you're learning so much about other parts of the world, I think it's important. And I think if we stop thinking in terms of restricting ourselves to just being one thing and being lots of things, it's easier. I suppose being racially mixed, it's easier for me to do that. It's easier for me to move in lots of different circles and reinvent myself, many times, because I have, lots of different tastes. So I like heavy metal music, and I like reggae, and I like lots of different things. And every time I go into these different circles, I usually take something from something else into that circle. So people look at me, I'll be at a rock gig and I'll, have all my reggae stuff on, or vice versa, or,
But isn't that more to do with personality as well, though, as opposed to identity?
That is what identity is not just about the colour of the skin. It's not about, it's about a lot of things. I'm a woman, I'm a mother, I'm lots of things. And that goes with me wherever I go. And the more people see of that, the less they put me into this little box. They can't. They look at me and they just, what are you? We don't know what to do with you. And I like that. That actually makes me feel good. It doesn't stop me from identifying with black culture or identifying with I don't know, when England play and always lose. Do you know what I mean? I can take on whatever I want to, and that should be, in an ideal world, what we can all do. That we should be free to be whatever we want. You know, if I decided to call myself green, it's my right to describe myself how I want. Obviously, I'm going to have lots of conflict and lots of people look at me and say, you're not green. But if that's how I want to describe myself, I should be able to do that.
So what do you think, Mark, then? Black British.
First and foremost, I'm black. I identify myself as black. The British never has and never will come into it because I've actually studied the history, so I know where that's going. But in terms of black, everything was born out of black, so I'm proud to be black. In terms of British, what is British? It's just a racial separatism, in my opinion, because that's what they use to separate peoples. There ain't nobody in this country that can say that they're English, because what is English? If you go back to the history, I think it's 2500 BC, there were black people here. Does that make sense? There were black people here before the Anglo-Saxons, who's where the English people originate from. There were black people here before them. So who does the land belong to? History will tell us as well that 43,000 years ago there was only black people in the world. So I always identify with black, and then the British and everything else that comes after it doesn't really bother me because I know what I know. And in terms of the mixed race thing, right? The problem is the racists in the society, for argument's sake, certain racist groups, they don't care what you describe yourself as. When they see you, they're not going to say, "Oh, you've got."
I know.
They're going to say you're black.
But I have to feel comfortable with myself.
Oh, most definitely.
And also, you're not going to change anything if you just allow people to label you like that. Once you actually decide, look, this is who I am, and I'm proud of who I am, and I'm going to move forward with that. And slowly, things have changed. And all right, it's not an ideal situation, and we're still living in a racist environment, but things are moving forward slowly.
Too slow, in my opinion.
Well, yeah, I agree with that. They are too slow. But if I look at my situation, when I grew up in Cheshire, and I regularly went to school and got called, Sambo and Nignog and all them sorts of things every day. And that was harsh, and I don't get that now. But equally, when I moved to Moss Side, which was a predominantly black area, then I got called breed and yellow and all sorts of other things. So, them sort of things.
But that's ignorance on both sides, isn't it?
It is ignorance on both sides, but when you're a child,
humans can be naturally ignorant to things. They can be afraid of things as well.
Yeah.
But I think sometimes, like from where you came from in terms of the sense of identity and knowing that not one thing makes up your whole identity. That's very true, and that's things of your personality, people you hang around with, all those sort of influences. But in terms of Black British, I think sometimes it's good to look at it in the sense of where do you call home? I mean, you live in Britain, you have a British passport. If you're a British citizen, people consider you as a British person, and that's how I identify myself as a British person. But that doesn't necessarily make up my whole identity. I'm British because I'm a British citizen, but I'm also Nigerian because my parents are Nigerian. That's where they originated from. And although I live in Britain, I have a British passport, I also when I'm at home, I'm in Nigeria. My parents are Nigerian. My siblings.
Your parents are Nigerian.
Yeah.
Yoruba, Igbo, how's that? Yoruba.
Yeah, Yoruba.
So you don't identify with
I identify with that. But as I said, it's like I'm British because I'm a citizen, but when I'm at home, I'm in Nigeria. My parents are Nigerian. They make it a Nigerian household.
See, I have a problem.
It doesn't change where I call home. Like, I have a home in Nigeria and I have a home in Britain. Therefore, that's why they have dual nationality. I identify with my Nigerian side through my parents, through my culture, the way I express myself, maybe with where I dress, how we celebrate our traditions. Yeah. But I still can't deny the fact that Britain's my home. I live in Britain.
Most definitely. But in terms of the Black British thing, it doesn't change anything. It's just a label. Because regardless of what first and foremost, they see black. Yeah, and it doesn't matter whether you're British or whether you're black Caribbean or black African, as shown on the equal opportunity forms when you're going for a job. That's just to put you in a segment that they can then deal with you even before you're actually arrived.
Yeah.
They know exactly who they're dealing with. Does that make sense? But the British side of it, yeah, I live in Britain, but I'm not of Britain. That's the way I see it. So at the end of the day, the black British thing, for me, it's farcical. It's racial separatism, and just so they can put people in boxes. So when I sign an equal opportunities form, I normally tick mixed or other.
Do you?
Yeah.
Just to throw them off.
Just to throw them, because then the majority of us in the Caribbean have some form of mixture in us.
Yes.
Yes. Unless you come from the Maroon Society, right? Or and I've been told that my parents are from the Maroon Society, which is really good.
He's so happy with that.
Yeah, I was really happy when I found that out. Yeah. But that's why I put mixed or I put other, and then with the name Simpson, they can't really tell. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
It's just to be like.
But there's more than that, because the thing is, even though I don't describe myself as British, this is my home.
Yes.
And I do love it here.
Yeah.
And there's nowhere else I've been on earth so far that I've wanted to call home. I've been to the Caribbean and I love it. Don't get me wrong, I love it. But I love London. And I love the fact that it's so cosmopolitan. There's so many different people from all over the world. And you can be who you want to be.
I just want to give thanks to the Loft for inviting me down here to give my opinion on the black and British argument. In my opinion, it doesn't matter what labels are put on you. What matters is that you take the time out to gain knowledge of self. Because once you gain knowledge of self eradicates all fear. And then it doesn't matter who or what they say you are, you know who you are. And that's the main point.
I think in light of this conversation, I've really realised that it is really important to understand who you are and what is your self, you as an individual, where you're from. And really, in light of this, I understand that I'm a Yoruba boy first, and then whatever comes after is whatever comes after, innit?
Being mixed race, I suppose I'm the personification of black and British. But it's not as easy as that, not as simple as that. I want to leave you with one thing that I use in my life, and it gets me through. And it's from a book, Superman to Man, by Joel Augustus Rogers. And that is, if you judge everybody on their character and not the colour of their skin, you can never go wrong. Thank you.
These discussions are so important to have, which is why I'm really grateful that the Loft invited me down to share my opinion today. And I hope what I said resonated with you in whatever way possible. These are continuing conversations to have. Regardless of who you think you are, what you think you are, self-awareness, self-acceptance and self-love is really important. Don't let external pressures tell you who you are. You can define yourself. What is black? What is British? What do you think?
Well, you're not British, you're black from Africa. You're just born in England, that's why you're British. You shouldn't say, oh, I'm black from British. No, you're black from Africa and you was born in England, that's it. You're black and you're born in England, and sometimes you have like the England culture mixed with the African culture, so you're not so much like with the African culture like 100%, you're like 50-50, which makes things easier, because with cultures sometimes they can be very restrict and stuff like that. So I'm a mix, I'm confused. I'm mixed, right? So yeah, my mom is from Angola, Africa, my dad is French, and I was born in Portugal and raised in Portugal. So it's very ironic me saying that, because I classify myself Portuguese.
So when you fill out a form, what do you put in?
Black, African, white and European. Because that's what I am really.